Council. It is my pleasure now this evening to swear in our distinguished alderman from the 4th Ward. If you could please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Robert T. Palmer, having been elected to the office of Alderman of the City of Lake Forest, in the County of Lake, in the State of Illinois, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will discharge the duties of said office according to the best of my ability. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Rob. Maybe call to order and roll call, please.
Honorable James Cowie.
Here.
Alderman Grumhouse. Alderman Novit.
Here.
Alderman Woodman. Alderman Goldruff.
Here.
Alderman Morsch.
Here.
Alderman Hanrahan.
Here.
Alderman Luby.
Here.
Alderman Palmer.
Here.
We have 7 present, 2 absent. Mr. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. We have a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome. Our first order of business tonight is report to city officers and comments by the mayor. I would like to read a proclamation of August 5th, 2009 as Lake Forest Day. Whereas the McClintock Post 264, the American Legion has undertaken to provide appropriate exercises and entertainment in celebration of Lake Forest Day on Wednesday, August 5, 2009, with a view of bringing together the people of our city in the furtherance of civic interest and advancement of community fellowship. And whereas the Post 264, the American Legion honors Lake Forest residents, employees, neighbors, and friends by adopting the theme, Lake Forest, American Legion salutes scouting. Therefore, be it hereby proclaimed that said Lake Forest Day celebration is declared to be a city fair and in pursuance thereof, and Tuesday, August 4th, 2009, and Wednesday, August 5th, 2009, shall be observed as holiday in the city of Lake Forest, and our people are urged to forsake their ordinary pursuits and gather in West Park in the spirit of comradeship and goodwill in support of the ideals of our city. So that means we're all off on August 4th and 5th. Congratulations to Post 264. Do we have anybody here tonight to come on up and they do have.
Should we make a motion to approve?
We should.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank goodness we got thank goodness we got the aye.
This is the 101 year, right?
Thank you, David.
The 101st year.
This is 101st according to last year.
101st, exactly.
I have no other comments. Comments by city manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. First item under my agenda is a somewhat sad but joyous one as well, because we have another long-time, I was going to say old police officer, but a long-time police officer, Jim Athanas, who is going to be leaving us and going on to bigger and better things. And I've asked Deputy Chief Glenn Burmeister to come forward and say a few words first. Glenn?
Come on up, Jim. Bring the family. Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, thank you once again for the opportunity to come before you and honor a member of the Police Department. After 9,690 days of service, Officer James D. Athanas is retired. My name is Deputy Chief Glenn Burmeister, and this is especially touching to me as Jim and I were hired on the same day, October 1st, 1982. We attended the police academy together, and it seems just like yesterday we were at the academy and you and Todd Hardy were short-sheeting my bet. I bid my time for retaliation. 9,630 days. You see, I wrote your resolution. Lake Forest Police Chief Thomas Treesice was the guest speaker at the Academy graduation. In his speech, he said, "Each of us aspired to become a chief of police." I thought to myself, no, I don't. As the FBI reports the life expectancy of a police officer in the U.S. is only age 55, I just wanted to live long enough to be retired. Well, Jim, you made it. At the end of the ceremony, we all took an oath of honor. This writing's a little smaller as we age. It read, "On my honor, I will never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public trust. I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions. I will always uphold the Constitution, the community, and the agency I serve." And Jim did all of that for all of his 26 years. I'd now like to read the resolution. Whereas James D. Athanas has been a dedicated employee of the City of Lake Forest since October 1st, 1982. And whereas James D. Athanas, who showed an interest and aptitude in firearms, was trained by the state of Illinois as a firearms instructor and armorer, serving as a department range officer since 1999, whereby he qualified, trained, and improved the skills of each sworn officer on the use and safety of firearms. Whereas James D. Athanas was recognized for his maturity and contributions to the department, was appointed as a field training officer from 2001 to 2006, whereby he trained new police officers from basic recruit school on the customs, traditions, formalities, procedures, and ordinances of the City of Lake Forest. Whereas James D. Athanas was commended in service from neighboring police officials for apprehending burglary suspects and assisting with Northern Illinois Police Alarm System. Whereas James D. Athanas has received over 35 letters of appreciation from residents and non-residents, describing him as courteous and professional, understanding and helpful, polite and comforting, dedicated and sensitive, and shows a real concern for his career as a Lake Forest police officer. Whereas James D. Athanas will honorably retire from the city on May 15, 2009, and be missed by his fellow police officers and supervisors, civilian department members, city co-workers, neighboring police departments, and law enforcement community in general. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Lake Forest that the council, on behalf of the administration and residents of the community, hereby express its appreciation and gratitude to James D. Athanas for a public service faithfully performed, and be it further resolved that the city clerk be and hereby is instructed to deliver a copy of this resolution duly signed by the mayor to James D. Athanas this 18th day of May, 2009. Congratulations.
Just to make it official, we do need a recommendation to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations, Jim.
Jim, do you want to say anything?
It went by awfully fast. We were here being sworn in by John Fisher, who is
If you could approach the mic a little. Everybody at home wants to hear from you.
okay. It seems like only yesterday, Deputy Chief Burmeister and I were here being sworn in by John Fisher, who was personnel director at the time. And I remember a lot of City Hall was still painted in the old battleship gray from World War II. It's since gone under some renovation a couple of times since then, but it's been great working here. The town is just beautiful. It's nostalgic, traditional. That's what I really like. So I'll miss it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim, very much.
Here's the resolution, don't go too far. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, I'd like to recognize Joanna Rolick, the Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce, regarding waiving of fees for this year's Concert in the Square. Joanna?
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Once again this year, there will be concerts in Market Square. In the past, the events have been organized by the Market Square Merchants Association, and this year the merchants decided they wanted to pass on the responsibility, and the Chamber stepped in. What we're doing is, once again, we will have events in the square on Thursday evenings between 6:30 and 8:30 p.m., starting on June 18th and continuing through July 30th, with the exception of the Thursday of the 4th of July week. We're going to start out with a group called Odd Topo Imi, which I was told by the management is going to be quite infectious and just the right band to start out with. But it's going to be a lot of steel drums and good fun. We have, following that on the 25th, a group that's going to be focusing on 70s and 80s music. On the July 9th, the New Invaders will be coming in with what they call the Ultimate 60s Flashback Show. I think we're all going to know all these lyrics. On the 16th of July, the Renditions will be coming in with some rock and roll classics, everything but British, I understand, so that we'll have a little Elvis and some Four Seasons and Beach Boys. They look a little fuzzy. I think they're being shot through cheesecloth. Robert Cole Orchestra is coming on the 23rd of July, and this is to satisfy those that love pop standards and the big band sounds. Rob is terrific, so he's coming with quite an orchestra that night. And it ends up on July 30th with the Blues Brothers of Saturday Night Live fame. This has become a tradition that every year there is one evening that the Blues Brothers come in and perform, and it is coupled with an auto show, a classic auto show that is put on annually in memory of former Frame Forum owner and Memory Lane Motors owner Chuck Requa. It benefits melanoma research. So that will take place on July 30th as well. Typically, there are cars parked all the way around the square, and it's a lot of fun to see the classic cars. Tommy Edwards, who is a Chicago radio legend and area resident, is going to be back as our master of ceremonies. He is also the Chicago Bulls public address announcer, so I think everyone, whether one sees him or not, you'll recognize his voice. Pasquasi's Left Bank is going to have its cart out, the Left Bank Mobile, and will have food available at the site. Also this year, the Friends of the Lake Forest Recreation Department, they're going to come out and join us. They're bringing out a snow cone machine. They're going to have rub-off tattoos and some other fun for the kids. They're going to have their CITs out there, their counselors in training, which is going to be good fun, and we've been talking about having some dancing from the Dance Academy and some other things that will relate to the music that evening. Sponsors for the concerts include Broadacre Market Square Management, Lake Forest Bank and Trust, the Chamber, of course, and then we've got the participation of Left Bank and the Lake Forest Rec Department. There is more information for residents on the Chamber's website at www.lflbchamber.com. So we are going to begin on June 18th. What I also wanted to do is mention that we don't want people just to come for the concerts. We want to make sure that they come down often and patronize our stores and restaurants. We have had our Shop Local First campaign to raise awareness of the need to patronize our stores. And on the heels of the construction that is already taking place at the north end of Western Avenue, we've launched another promotion that we're calling the Shopping Zone, asking people to come and patronize those stores, and when they do, they can register for a drawing for $1,000 in Chamber gift certificates. That is something that we feel we need to do to alleviate this perception that the downtown is a little too congested, too busy, too dusty, and people shouldn't come down. Perception is one of the issues that I know hasn't been addressed with regards to construction issues, but that is a big one. We're finding that it is a big one. So we do want people to come downtown. We also have another promotion urging people to come to stores and register as you would for wedding gifts. It's a gift registry that was started before Mother's Day, continuing on. Residents can go to the chamber website and find 34 businesses that are participating right now with this gift registry. So that if you want to get a gift, especially those for Father's Day, go register at these stores and everyone will know exactly what you want. But we do want people to come down, patronize the downtown, both for the concerts and on non-concert days and evenings. And we are also thanking the city for their consideration of waiving fees for essentially equipment is what we're talking about. Barricades, trash, litter containers. We'll have staff taking care of putting up the barricades and maintaining the square on those evenings. But we do thank you for consideration of the waiver of that, which is very important in our being able to go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanna. Under the city's special event policy, is it appropriate for the city council to receive this request? The cost in actual dollars is probably somewhere in the $1,300 to $1,600 range for the entire festival period. So staff would recommend waiving the necessary fees and charges.
And we've done it in the past,
We have.
and so I make a motion to approve.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
It's a roll
Oh,
call. Alderman Novit?
Money.
Money.
big money.
Oh, yes, aye.
Alderman Goltra?
Yes.
Alderman Morse?
Yay.
Alderman Hanrahan?
Aye.
Alderman Luby?
Aye.
Alderman Palmer?
Aye.
Motion approved.
Two other very quick things as staff runs up here and puts an overhead up. We do have a couple of announcements that hopefully the community will join us in. One is the grand opening of the Town Line Community Park, scheduled for Sunday, May 31st. Fun and activities everywhere from 12 noon with the ribbon cutting and dedication. There's going to be games and activities through the day, and starting then at 4 to 6:30 is Open Lands Dog Days event. So you can see that the new Town Lake Park is going to get a lot of activity on May 31. So if you and your family don't have other plans, it will be a free community event, which is good, certainly in this economy. And I think it should be a lot of fun for everybody. And then the second item I had mentioned too are the changes that are scheduled at Forest Park Beach. Effective May 1st, we will begin the enforcement of parking east of Sheridan Road. Beginning Memorial Day weekend, we will be then charging entrance for non-resident access to the beach. We will have a grace period for the first couple of weekends to help people learn more about this change and communicate those changes to the new or to the non-residents that are attending, and also remind residents that they should bring some form of identification, whether it's a driver's license, a school ID, a water bill, whatever the case might be, so that they won't get stopped at the top of the hill. Also, if you're driving, the city vehicle sticker will be sufficient to get you access into the parking lot. So we're trying to publicize this as much as we possibly can, but if you could help us get the word out, that would be greatly appreciated. And that completes my report for this evening.
Bob, just a question on the fee for the $125 that's in effect at this time, and we have the signs up or letting people know that that's what the costs are.
That is my understanding, yeah. I have not personally, I guess I'd ask maybe Kent, but my understanding is the signs are up.
I believe they are at this point.
Because police can't enforce them unless the signs are up. So, but my understanding is they are up.
Thank you, Bob. Any comments by council members?
Just a brief comment. Unfortunately, in my neighborhood, the emerald ash borer has kind of taken a toll on the trees on June Terrace, and I've gotten numerous calls from persons down the block from me. I just want to get out the word that the city does have a program or a plan to replace the trees that have been taken down. We want to avoid having the same kind of dilemmas happen that have happened in the past, where elm trees have been planted, elm trees have come down, they're replaced with ash trees, 29 ash trees have come down, and the city is creating a plan to diversify the tree planting stock. It's going to take some time. Most likely the majority of the planting won't be accomplished until next summer.
there is a thought that there might be a few trees put in, and to the people that live in the area of June Terrace, I don't want them to think that the few trees that'll be planted is it for the tree replacement. The majority will go next summer. But it's horrible. The effect of the ash borer is shocking. I'm going to be happy when it's long past us. Thanks.
I'd like to have a reminder from the Public Works Department that brush now, you need one of those stickers on it to pick up the brush. It's the same one that goes on the bags as well. And that people remember when they put out the sticks, et cetera, that they put a sticker on there.
Sticks,
Sticks, branches, whatever.
a sticker on their sticks.
Stick, that's correct. Stuff that won't go in the bag.
Any other comments by council members? No? We'll move on to the council committee reports. Do we have any this evening? No? Quiet night, that's good. Opportunity for public to address the city council on non-agenda items. Hearing none, we will move on. The next order of business is our consent agenda. And our first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the May 4th, 2009 city council meeting. Any comments, corrections, or approvals?
Motion to approve?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Actually, we're on the consent agenda, there are several other items before that vote.
Oh,
I thought I would do the next three together. Could I do that, or do you want me to?
Either way, you're supposed to do them all together, though. We can do them
Oh,
as a single
okay.
vote once we've gone through each of them.
Okay, well, we'll do that. Then we have three more items on the agenda, and they're all pretty much public work items. We have an award of a contract for the 2009 concrete pavement patching program, say that 10 times fast, which is approximately $200,000. We have an award of contract for the Waukegan Road watermain replacement project. And we have an award of a contract for the 2009 annual pavement seal coating project. And I know we have representatives from Public Works here. I see Ramesh and Ken Magnus hiding in the back there. So does anybody have any questions regarding any of these three contracts?
I only had one question. Did we get more than one bid on the seal coating project last year? Or?
We had only one.
We only had one last year as well?
Last year.
Okay, okay. We have to figure out how to get more bidders.
Right, I mean, we had two who picked up, but only one who
Right.
did the project, yeah.
Well, picking up doesn't count, does it?
American,
That's like, isn't that kind of like thinking about?
I guess the American Road Maintenance, they have the GSB 88. The distributor doesn't give that product to a lot of other vendors, so we're hopeful that as the market improves and a lot of people use this, they'll get different vendors, so.
They go from
Okay.
thinking to feeling.
Right,
The other vendor was from Minnesota, actually. So,
that would have been expensive. Okay,
He wanted to do it all in 1 year.
thanks very much. I'll make a motion to recommend approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
And this is a roll call vote?
Alderman Novit,
Aye.
Alderman Goldtrip,
Aye.
Alderman Morris,
Aye.
Alderman Hanrahan,
Aye.
Alderman Luby,
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
7 ayes, motion passes.
Motion passes. Moving on, the next item on the agenda is ordinances. And I see our Assistant Planner, Megan O'Neill. It's a consideration of report and recommendation from the Zoning Board of Appeals to grant a variance from the side yard setback requirements at 925 Oakwood Avenue. This is a first reading, and if desired by the City Council, final approval.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is a variance request at 925 Oakwood. Just to orient you, the property is located approximately 4 properties south of Woodland on Oakwood. When this house was built in the 1920s, the structure complied with the zoning regulations that were in place at that time. When the setbacks changed for the R1 district, straighten it out. This portion of the house became legal nonconforming. The project that went before the Zoning Board of Appeals was for a second-story addition above an existing one-story addition that was added in the 60s, I believe. Setbacks are measured from the edge of the eave, so this setback or variance request is for an 8-foot setback when the required setback is 10 feet in this district. The request received no objections from the neighboring property owners at the meeting. One letter of support was received by the board. Based on the findings on page 20 of your packets, the zoning board voted unanimously to recommend approval of the variance to allow the second-story addition to be constructed completely above the existing one-story. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any comments, questions? We have one of two options. We can take waive the first reading and go right into the roll call to pass the ordinance.
Right.
Okay.
You want a motion, make the motion to waive first reading.
Second.
All in favor? That's,
Aye.
yeah, roll call?
That's a voice.
Voice vote.
That's voice,
Oh, that's voice vote.
right.
I'm gonna catch up to this sooner or later.
You never catch it.
We need a motion then for consideration of the ordinance approval.
Motion to approve the ordinance?
Second.
That would be a roll call.
This is roll call.
Alderman Ovett,
Aye.
Alderman Goltra,
Aye.
Alderman Morris,
Aye.
Alderman Hanrahan,
Aye.
Alderman Luby,
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays, motion passes.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is another one for Megan. We have a consideration of a report and recommendation from the Zoning Board of Appeals to grant a variance from the side yard setback requirements at 301 Rose Terrace. And again, this is first reading and, if desired by the City Council, final approval.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This property is located in the R2 zoning district. This is the property subject of the variance request, 301 Rose Terrace. The homeowner is requesting a variance to allow a one-story addition to the rear of the residence, which is shown on the site plan. Let me just see if I can get that a little clearer. Okay. This is the area of the requested variance. As measured to the edge of the eave, the setback would be 2 feet 6 inches. The proposed addition is in line with the existing house. This was really a difficult petition for the zoning board. They brought up some good issues and they discussed it at length. The board did recognize that this is a variance, or that a variance was granted to allow this one-story addition, and that the request for a one-story addition that's before you tonight maintained the setback of the existing house that was built prior to setback requirements. With respect to some of the issues that the zoning board discussed, there are several mature trees in the area, and the requested setback is close to the property line. In order to address those concerns, the zoning board did add several recommended conditions of approval, which are outlined in the ordinance. To address the concern about the trees, the zoning board did recommend that a certified arborist provide a report verifying that construction would not harm the trees in the area. If a special construction technique was proposed to accommodate the trees, we asked that the soils be tested so that that construction technique could be verified that it's practical. With respect to the closeness to the property line, there was some discussion on how to address the actual construction. And there's a condition of approval that addresses a potential construction easement in case workers or equipment need to cross this property line. Additionally, the zoning board recommended that as a condition of approval, there be a parking construction plan as well, due to the tightness of the lots in this area. And again, this request received no objections from the public. There are positive findings in your packets. I believe they're on page 28. The findings included that the approval was based on a one-story element, and also that there are several unique elements of this request: the size of the lot, the mature trees, the location of the exterior stairs. There are a lot of elements going on in this petition. So based on the information presented, the recommendation is to waive first reading and grant final approval of the ordinance. This would be to allow construction of a one-story addition to be set back no closer than, or to be constructed no closer than 2 feet 6 inches from the west property line. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have a couple on this. I'm troubled by this, this significant amount of invasion of the setback. I mean, taking a 12-foot setback and reducing it down to a 2.5-foot setback, I'm not sure is in keeping with the general look of Lake Forest. But first I wanted to ask Vic a question, if I might. There was a case out in Colorado not long ago where a very similar situation where a person built a house next to a mature tree and the tree died. The next door property owner then sued for not only the loss of the tree, but also for the damage and diminution of the value of the property. I see two areas here. One, there is an implied reliance on zoning for the setback that we would be altering, and also there is language in here that acknowledges that there could possibly be damage to the mature tree. Do you see any possibility of the city being dragged into, if there was a civil lawsuit, the city being drawn into any type of litigation?
Obviously, there's always the risk that the city would be brought into any such lawsuit. There are probably two possible avenues that might occur. Someone could challenge the actual grant of the variation. If they were to do that, then we'd be a necessary party. That doesn't mean that the city would have to be the lead party in the litigation. I mean, once we've made our determination, we don't have any obligation to defend it. That's really the applicant's task at the instance here. As far as the damage to the tree, again, while we may be sued, under the Illinois Tort Immunity Act for local governments, any kind of claim of damage of that sort, when it arises from a permit that the city has granted, is within the ambit of the immunity of the act. So while someone may sue, it would be a suit that wouldn't have much standing power.
No, I understand that we don't have liability, but just the cost of being embroiled in it. A question then back to the zoning. At 2.5 feet, if you had a mirror image property, and if the person on the other side of the fence asked you for the same kind of variance, you now have two houses that would be 4.5, 5 feet apart. Is this something that would fall in the lines of what you would want to see in Lake Forest? Is that a closeness of buildings that you find troublesome, or do you think that that's an appropriate look?
I think in this case, the zoning board did think carefully about the closeness of this addition to the property line. In this case, the neighbor's driveway actually runs on this side, so there was consideration given to this lot specifically, and I think each lot and each project is evaluated on its own merit and own possibilities.
Okay. But basically what my concerns are is that Lake Forest's image is very much decided by the openness and by the trees that are grown not only on the front and back lots but also on the side lots. And I hate to see us go down the path of constantly allowing encroachment on the setbacks that we have, that we've zoned, because otherwise, if we, do that too often, our zoning is diminished in value. I would defer to the other councilman, but I really think 2.5 feet in a 12-foot zoning area is excessive. Thank you.
Do we know if the tree is an ash?
It is a pine tree, a stately pine tree of some height.
And the difficulty is on this one, though, is that you have 12 feet on each side, and you've got basically a 50-foot lot, so that if you actually, and it was all built before any zoning was in there, that if you conform to that, they'd have a hallway basically down that they have to live in. So we're not really changing the current line that's already on that side. We're just extending it farther back into the lot. And you received letters from the neighbors. One of those letters, was that from the neighbor on that side where the driveway is?
That's correct. We received letters of support from both neighboring property owners.
From both. So they don't have any problem with it.
And Ren, I think it's a good issue you're raising. This one kind of caught my attention too, but I think what we have typically done is that, to John's point that he just made here, and the petition right before it, frankly, was not in compliance either. We didn't have our tape measures out, but we said that as long as it extended the current line, that's typically been the hardship that property owner has to live with. I think that, and I've certainly on this neighborhood and other neighborhoods close to town, where the neighborhoods were built back in the 1890s and early 1900s, like many of these houses were, none of them are conforming.
That's correct.
And there is another benefit of having investment being made into these properties, because it does, in fact, improve the properties, and it makes them livable for today's families. And I have many, for example, I live on Oakwood, with many homes on that street that are, frankly, they're all non-conforming. And many of them actually are historic properties in our town, because they reflect a type of character where the homes were closer together. And those are, I think, neighborhoods that we really want to encourage investment in those neighborhoods. And so I know this one caught my eye too, and maybe we should send it back to the zoning board and have them think about this again, or, I'm open to doing that. I think the trees are an impact, but when you have neighbors on both sides that are that have expressed support, it's kind of hard to do that, because I don't think we're breaking a precedent that we've already set. I'd offer that up for your consideration.
I can see your point. I would not expect the neighbors, though, on either side to probably lodge a complaint, because after all, that is right next door, and that creates potential hard feelings. So it would have to be, I think, quite egregious before that would happen. I'm just troubled by the thought that we allow zoning variances based on continuing encroachments. I'm not sure how our zoning withstands then the argument that it's a line that exists and I can continue it on.
I think you've sensitized the zoning board of appeals as to our concerns, but I'm not inclined at this point to second guess them. I mean, that's why we have boards and commissions, and I think you've aptly stated a concern that a lot of us have about what's going on here, but I'm sure they have it too.
I will say that the 6 years that I was on council, this was a very common agenda item, and I think the main issue, at least the councils that I served on, always looked to was the recommendations from the neighbors on each side. And I will say that if a neighbor doesn't like you or doesn't like your house, they will speak up.
Oh, yeah, they will.
So
They do. I spent years on the zoning board and had many of these and many neighbors right in there, because the time to stop it is when it's being built and not later on. But this is a very common situation we have in many of our neighborhoods in this city, where we have some of our more affordable housing that's there.
My point to continue that was simply that in those councils in the past, that was always the paramount issue we looked at. If the neighbors on either side said, yes, you know, we're in agreement with this, we like our neighbor, and we feel this is a good project, I think that was always the number one factor in making our decision. And I think it's still the best thing that we can do, given the fact that all of these, as you said earlier, are non-conforming. This was long before we had those zoning regulations in place, and these folks are doing the best they can with the types of properties they have. So I think that is something we need to, you know, look strongly at, is what do the neighbors feel?
And I'm in a funny position because I am acquainted with the petitioners. I think I could be objective, but the siting of the addition, it is facing a driveway. If it was looking into the windows of the people next door, certainly I'd have maybe a little more objection, but if anything, it might be shielding the backyard from the driveway. So the siting seems to be important. I'd be in support of the investment in the neighborhood.
I think those are valid points. I just, I think I'm quite troubled, though, by taking it from 12 feet to 2.5 feet. So, you know, that's fine.
I'd like to make the motion to waive first reading.
Second. And that is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve.
Any opposed?
I'm not going to oppose that.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And that is a roll call vote.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Goltra.
Nay.
Alderman Morsch.
Aye.
Alderman Hanrahan.
Aye.
Alderman Luby.
Aye.
Alderman Palmer.
Aye.
5 ayes, 1 nay, motion passes.
Thank you. And that is our last item. Any other additional items for council discussion this evening? No? Hearing none, ask for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We are adjourned. Good job.